I don't like seeing myself on here. I'll look away.
I'll change that.
My mum was pregnant with me when she got baptised and Spirit-filled. And when I was 8 years old, I received the Holy Spirit and spoke in tongues for myself. A few days later, actually seriously broke my arm and had to have surgery on it, and they had to put screws in to put the bone back together, and they were going to have to put wire in my elbow. And Mum just was quite at peace about the whole thing. I was only 8, so I don't remember a lot about it. But she said to the doctors that because they said it's really serious, and she said that's okay, she's in good hands. Well, they took that to mean them, but she meant the Lord. When they took me into surgery, they put the screws in, and my elbow, which was dislocated, put itself back in. Well, God put it back in, which meant I didn't need the wire in my elbow, so I didn't need further surgery. So I waited until the plaster was off, and then I got baptised by full immersion, as the Bible tells us that we have to. So the Lord helped me through school. We got married quite young, and we probably just a bit over a year later, I got pregnant with our first child. I was working for a doctor at the time, and she went into panic mode, and she said, "Nope, you have to have an abortion. There's problems. You've got to. You can't have this baby." I said, "Well, that's not happening." She got me in to see a specialist friend of hers the next day, and they told me the exact same thing. And I again said, "No, that's not happening." At the 12-week scan, they told us that the baby's limbs were in the wrong places and growing in the wrong places, and then I needed to, for the third time, they told me I needed to abort the pregnancy. Prayer and fast was that weekend, so we prayed about it and just never gave it another thought. At the 20-week scan, we have a completely different photo of the ultrasound, and you can clearly see the baby being perfect and all the limbs being in the correct places. And he was born perfect. He was 3.5 weeks early, but which was just as well, because he would have been 15 pound. I say that jokingly because he's 6'6" now, and so he was always quite big. So I've had lots and lots of things happen, but the most recent one I'm going to tell you about, which isn't me, it's my dad, which happened only on Sunday. We'd been to the Ballarat meeting in the morning, and on Zoom, and got a phone call from Daniel saying that he talked to my mum, and my dad was in an ambulance on the way to the Royal Adelaide Hospital. They had both been that morning and had their COVID injection, the first one, and Dad had a really bad anaphylactic reaction to that injection. And so we sent out we're on the Ballarat Zoom, WhatsApp and the Island WhatsApp groups, and obviously here in Mount Gambier, so we messaged here in Mount Gambier, we messaged Ballarat and Island, and then got in the car to drive the 5 hours to Adelaide. At that point, Mum had said that his blood pressure was 60/40, and he had a bad rash over him, and they'd given him 2 shots of adrenaline and put him in the ambulance to take him to the Royal Adelaide. Our youngest boy, Squid, he got to the hospital first, And so we had an update from him, and he said he really doesn't look good. And his heart had gone into a fibrillation or whatever they call it as well. He then got these hives come out all over his body, and then my mum and my brother got in to see him, and then my brother said he really doesn't look good. And by then we were halfway to Adelaide, and so we just kept going. We messaged again asking for prayer, and Mum did the same. She rang Pastor John and got prayer at the Vogue. And by the time we arrived in at the hospital, he looked normal. He had been completely healed, and he came home later that night. You know, we just have an amazing God, and we know that no matter what happens, he's going to be there for us. And he's there to answer all of our prayers, and I just can't thank him enough.